Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Blazik, lead cover artist for Axiom Systems wrestling RPG called Upper Hand Wrestling. We are excited to talk to you guys about it, and I thought who better to bring in than the lead game designer, Zachariah Van Sliders. Why are you shaving?
Bow down to the king of kings.
You are definitely not the game.
The game, Triple H.
Nope.
The cerebral assassin.
This is just stupid.
When Zachariah called me up and asked me to help him with his wrestling RPG, I had to take him up on it. Steph and the kids can be a bit much since my retirement, if you know what I mean.
Why are you doing this to me, dude?
Upper Hand is a fast-paced, card-based RPG that allows you to experience heart-pounding, moment-to-moment action inside the square circle without having to deal with the dipshits. I'm talking about you, Rock! We also designed an all-play system which allows players to experience the game from both sides of the coin, playing and game mastering.
And what is that supposed to be?
It's my 20-pound sledge. So, grab a copy of Upper Hand on Axiom System Wrestling RPG, coming out on the 6th from Axiom Games, LLC. You can pick it up at drive-thru games at drivethrurpg.com, and don't click the hyperlink, because we don't have enough money for a hyperlink. And if you're not down with that, I got 2 words for you. There's just no reason for this to have everything reset. Everything fucking reset. And what's weird, it reset on my Discord, and I didn't think anything of it. Like, that's why you couldn't hear me right away when I started talking the first time, because the mic reset. For whatever reason, OBS completely reset all of its settings. You know what the last thing I did in OBS was? Our fucking wrestling show.
So you mean like all of your settings, like connecting to Discord and screen recording and all that's just wiped?
No, it was still screen recording. Like, all of that was right because I was watching it screen record. It's just the audio wasn't recording for whatever fucking reason, which makes me very scared that it didn't record our match, which would be an absolute sadness.
God, it would be absolute sadness.
That's what I'm scared about. I'm scared that we recorded that whole thing with no audio.
Oh, man. You might want to check that.
I'm checking it literally right now. I'm not even waiting. Okay, so this is even more frustrating now for this because it recorded that audio just fine. That was the very last thing I did with OBS. The very last thing I did with OBS. That's why I didn't check the audio, because all the audio setting was set to record like this. So what the fuck was going on, man? Why... Okay, alright. Let's just fucking do it over again. Going in 3, 2, 1.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hi, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming.
No.
You have chosen, for whatever reason, to listen to another horrible gaming podcast.
Not like this.
If I sound upset, it's because we didn't record audio for the first 17 minutes of the show, and we have to do the whole fucking thing again, so I'm super upset. Did I just say fuck within the first minute? Yes, I did. I don't even fucking care. I'm upset.
No.
And honestly, the ad you just watched is going to overwrite the 2 minutes anyway.
It's true.
Whoa. So I'm not alone. With me is...
Okay, Tiny Wizard.
He's not in a field. Ha 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 ha. It's a funny joke. He's not in a field this time. But his internet could go out at any time because we don't know.
That's the thing that we have to mention because it didn't get fixed last time. Oh,
fuck.
No.
Fuck being a YouTuber sometimes. Okay. So, before
before we continue, there's some people I have to thank for a second time in the space of 20 minutes. If you behind our ugly mugs is a picture. It's a beautiful picture made by Mark Bell. He makes all of the beautiful pictures here for us. The song was crafted by Nick Van Sliders, the man who makes the music. He writes and performs all of the theme songs for Old Man Gaming here. We'll be right here for more of the show that we already did that we have to do again.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
This brings us to our first segment, our most important segment. That's fan interaction. That's where we, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We are quantity above quality. All we can do is talk to you guys as people. That's what we've got. So let's read them. So right off the bat, Reaper MC. He's subscribed. He's new to the channel. Welcome to the family, Reaper. We appreciate you. He wrote, funny story. I'm thinking about buying your house. My house is not for sale, and it is definitely the house I'm going to die in. That's for sure. Other than that, I don't understand this joke. I don't know if we mentioned it in the last episode. It's been a few days since I listened to it, so expound if it's a joke, my friend. But welcome to the channel. We appreciate you, and any comments you write, we will read. That's what we do here. All right, continuing. William Ho'uin. Hi.
Just like that. Go.
Hi, glad to see Neil's doing fine. Smiley face. Battle passes be like pay to grind? Ooh, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is coming. Ugh. Hey, guess they saw your game pitch for it and thought, well, the whole design of the game is done now. It's just hire a writer to flesh it out. Thanks for the show. Hashtag 10-cent Logitech will be nice. Laugh out loud. So, to say literally exactly what we just said about this, it would not be the first time that even though we only average about 30 views per episode across all platforms, and we only have 333 subscribers, people have said things that sound directly verbatim out of our mouths, and they have used pitches that we have made on the show. So it wouldn't be the first time that this would weirdly happen, but I did do a pitch or die. Please go watch it if you haven't seen it, of what I think the next Ubisoft Beyond Good and Evil game should be. That was all we said about that one, right?
I think so.
All right. Adam66 missed an opportunity to have a pic of Neil's head in a magic crystal ball. I quickly made the joke. I should have gone through the footage and found a picture of him pre-sneeze or something and put that up. But I didn't because I'm lazy. Continuing. Jason. I don't know if this is entertaining for people or not. Jason, 10 cent is a department of the People's Republic of China, conspiracy theory or conspiracy fact? Or is it a conspiracy at all? To which I said, I don't know, and I'm not going to speak on it because they basically own America, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to end up dead. And I'll tell you another thing, it's either going to be them or the robots. So I'm going to learn to speak Mandarin and binary, and we'll be good. 1100
joke. There's a new joke.
What's new? It's really new.
That's the benefit of getting to do it twice.
It was more like an evolution of the first one, really. Let's be honest. Like, I kind of did it the first time and didn't do it as good.
That's fair.
It comes with the rage of having to record this a second time right in a row. I think that makes it a little bit more funnier. It's helping some things. Jason, the Sims bug is fixed now, fortunately. The short lifespan actually de-aged Sims rather than super aging like long lifespan. There was a way to stop it by playing on normal lifespan, but if you had taken the time to change it, you were probably not wanting to play normal lifespan. We did speak last week on the fact that if you played the normal lifespan, you did not experience the bug. Although I did not know about the de-aging. I think that's hysterical.
And then I believe it was at this point that I had mentioned that there was also a bug that made incest happen, and then that's when everything went to shit.
Oh, and I didn't even hear that because I was so mad that I realized that everything had gone to shit. I was so pissed when I realized that the green bars were not doing the little bouncy thing when I said my words. And that is not good. That means something has gone really awry.
Awry.
And I just want to talk to you guys for a second. This is the shit that you deal with as a YouTuber, because it's always your fault if you're the dude running the channel and editing it. You can't even say it's not. But for whatever reason, on Thursday, I recorded the newest episode of UHW. Well, one of the newer episodes of UHW with Neil and Kayla. We used OBS. We used all the settings. Recorded the audio just fine. Thought that everything was set up just fine for this time. For some reason, somewhere in that amount of time, the fucking bug dwarfs, little bug gnomes, got into my computer at night, came crawling in, and decided to reset all my settings. So nothing was set up on OBS. Nothing at all. Yay! Thanks! That's fucking awesome. So I took it for fucking verbatim that I already had it set up, and sure enough, we're re-recording 17 minutes of audio. Yay! Awesome!
Hey, but we got it in like 6.5, and that's important.
Yeah, sure. That's what's important. It's definitely what's important here.
That's what's important.
And then finally, Jason goes, communism has one major flaw. It doesn't take human nature into account. The Pilgrims tried communism, but even they couldn't keep it up. The Pilgrims at least gave up when it wasn't working. Hey, like I said, our show's not political. I was definitely making a joke about communism last time. That being said, the major flaw of every system is human nature. Every system. It's not just communism. It's democracy. It's capitalism. It's fucking round robin, weird commune. Yeah, any governmental or empowered body that exists on the planet has one definite flaw with it, and that is human nature. Period. Alright, so that wonderful, super upbeat way to end Fanteraction will be how we end Fanteraction. So, yeah. So, today we're going to talk about narrative versus sandbox games. We are obviously on separate lines of this. We're going to have a relatively spirited discussion about it without calling each other names. And then we're going to do odds and ends. But we're going to basically talk about narrative versus sandbox, why each of us like and or dislike the other one. And then we're going to kind of talk about where the hybrid of the two has failed and succeeded over the years. So we'll be right back with that conversation and more, hopefully not a second time.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so our talking point today, for the first time and hopefully the last time, is news has been relatively light, and we've been covering most of it in odds and ends anyway, so we've been kind of coming up with more fun topics to talk about. And as you guys have anybody who's been listening to us for a long time will know, Neil and I are very divided on some of our gaming tastes. And one of them being, I tend to enjoy a sandbox much more than a narrative-driven storyline, and Neil tends to enjoy the latter. So the question is, why? Why do we each like these games? Why do we not like the other games? What is it that changes it? And then I also really want to throw in here a segment at the end of hybrids of these that both work and don't work. So do you want to go first? You want me to go first? And I just figured we would go with like why we like one and then why we dislike the other one, and then the other person could do theirs,
Well, I guess I can start it off. And mine's gonna, as per usual, when I say things, be very contradictory to with the thing that I just get done saying.
It's like our fifth. It's like our fifth rule is hypocrisy knows no bounds right here.
So like with a story-driven game, I think of like a narrative story. Like any game, I've always said before, I want my game to have a nice, defined ending point, because I don't want to feel like I'm missing out on things or like I'm being almost held captive by a certain game because there's like no end in sight or no real stop. Like I have to have a proper motivation for what it is that I'm doing, and that's usually driven by a story. Like I've mentioned before too, like any game that I play, like in a perfect world, I would love a nice, solid, like 20-hour experience. Now, granted, there's been some, like I just finished the Horizon Forbidden West not too long ago. That wound up being about 45 hours. Final Fantasy VII Remake, 45 hours. But, you know, those games very much, they have a lot of stuff to do in them, but there is an end. Like I like having, if somebody's going to tell a story, I want there to be a story associated with it. Like I enjoy sandboxy sort of games, but I enjoy them for a different sort of reason. Like I typically go for those when I just want to waste time and don't want to be necessarily entertained in such a way that I have to have my attention focused on accomplishing a task. So, I mean, there are some things that I do enjoy about the sandbox, big open world sandbox games. I don't hate them, but I very much, if I'm given a choice, I want something that has a beginning, middle, and end, maybe has a little bit to do, you know, right before the end of the game or a little bit to do right after the end. Nothing that is like grinding for power levels to do more things that are just keeps going and going and going. And I think that's like my biggest thing, and that about like live servicey sort of games, which you and I have gone back and forth on quite a bit over the years. But yeah, my main bag is that single player story narrative driven sort of game.
Okay, I muted myself through all of that just to make sure I wouldn't interrupt you. That's why you weren't hearing the yeps or whatever. I could tell you were like, why isn't he saying anything?
I really was. I was like, you know what I did think happened? I thought he was like, I thought that you were like, all right, he's going to go 5-10 minutes. I can take a piss real quick.
I can't. I'm on camera. People would see me.
That's true. That's true.
I can't pull that shit anymore.
I can't see you, but I wouldn't know.
I actually wanted to listen to what you had to say, and it's one of the reasons I muted myself, because I didn't want to interrupt in any way, shape, or form during it. I see what you're saying. I see your point of view. I disagree with it, and here's why. Okay, here's what I love about a sandbox game, just to start. I used to be a guy who was super story narrative driven. Super. Like Max Payne 1 and 2 are two games that I will always remember very fondly deep inside my heart. I played the second one absolutely so much I can literally recite every line from memory. That being said, it was a 2-hour narrative game. It was, you're in and you're out. You're done, you know? I came to realize that a couple of things. Number one, I'd get done with them so fast that it was done, and I spent $60 on this thing. Plus, I like to experience a world. I like to go in, and I like to somebody just give me rules and just let me play in it. One thing I started to dislike about narrative is that I never felt like I was playing my character. I felt like I was playing somebody else's character. Then it started to feel like I was watching a movie. And then I came to realize that the coolest thing about video games to me as I got older is the choice, the free choice. Like, that is the only art medium in that kind of way that you can experience that level of freedom and choice. And a narrative-driven game doesn't really give you that. It gives you a couple of endings, sure, but you're going from point A to point B. That's really it. And even with the sandbox-style narrative games, I still started to feel like there's always this overall arching story that's just hung over my head. So I never felt like okay, I'll give you an example. Red Dead Redemption 2. I actually got asked about this by some friends, and might as well go into it a little bit deeper. Red Dead Redemption 2, for the storyline, made me cry. It was one of the best storylines I've ever experienced. That being said, I would never play that game again. That game was one of the least enjoyable experiences I've ever had gaming. The game was really good, but the problem is that there's just this huge, weightful story behind the character that you have to play behind Arthur Morgan. Then they give you all this huge world to explore, these huge side quests to get into, this all these interesting side stuff to do. But doing them literally makes you feel guilty for not completing the big story. And what I realized too was that story was so big that if I didn't mainline it, at some point I would run out of time to mainland the story. So I literally had to ignore everything else in that game to get through the story. And it just tainted the experience. It became work for me. And it tainted the experience. It was so many things was just passing up. Whereas if Red Dead Redemption 2 had been create your own character, here's the world, take out all the Arthur Morgan overarching plot stuff, which was great. Don't get me wrong. It was one of the best gaming experience storylines I've ever experienced. But if you took that out, in my opinion, that's a better game. And I know that's a hot take. But then I can just do whatever I want in that world. And when I want to put that game down, I never feel any guilt. I never feel any I never finished it. I don't know how it ended. I never end up seeing a spoiler on Twitter 2 years later and it ruins it for me. Never. Because there is no spoiler. Because the experience is completely unique to me. And that is something that only video games can do. And that is why the narrative stuff doesn't do it for me anymore. Because when I'm in that narrative thing, it feels like I'm playing somebody else's game. I'm playing somebody else's save. That's what it feels like to me. Whereas you give me a game like No Man's Sky, where I'm just making a character, I'm just doing my thing. You know, here's how you do your things. Here's the rules in front of you. Do your thing. And I tell you what, I have been playing No Man's Sky a long time, on and off. When I put down No Man's Sky for a long period, I never feel bad about it. I never have to worry about a spoiler. Nothing, because there's no story there. It's just what I'm doing when I want to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's kind of why I tend to fall into the sandbox kind of field. And I'm not necessarily talking about games as service. I feel like that's an argument for a different day on this one. While those do end up falling into the open world stuff a lot more often than not, that would also bring into competitive play and stuff, and I don't really want to discuss that here. It's more like just my thought was more like the No Man's Sky versus the Uncharted, the heavy story versus the no story sort of situation. And that's why I tend to drive a little bit more towards that sandbox, towards that free experience, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also get, what you're saying too.
Right, right.
I know
It's very different ideologies.
Yeah, so I know one thing that you and I have a big point that we have diverged on when it comes to this conversation. Sorry, I still can't shake that cough.
Sticking with him.
Oh, jeez, it's forever. But a big point that you and I have diverged on with this, it's always the idea of okay, so you spend $60 on a game, what are you getting out of that?
Right.
I get the argument. I do.
I know where you're going with this, and I don't necessarily disagree with you on some things.
Yeah, so you spend $60 on something. Believe me, well, especially now, $70. I mean, come on. Forbidden West was the first game that I bought, was the first $70 game.
Right.
And it hurt me. It hurt me. I was like, damn, because after tax, you're looking at almost $80.
Right.
So it is one of those things to where there is a little bit of, trying to get what you paid for out of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit there and go and spend $60, $70 on a game that's only going to last 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that. There's no way, because that's absolutely absurd, absolutely ridiculous. But at the same time, the amount that a game costs doesn't necessarily, at least in my eyes, should not be tied to the enjoyment that you get from it. Because I think of it as, when I buy that game, I know full well that this money that I'm spending will eventually be spent, and I will feel good about it. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to wring every last cent out of something. Now, there are some games, kind of maybe getting ahead of ourselves here while talking about, both sides of the coin and things that, do it well and don't do it well. Like, let's say something like Skyrim. Okay. Skyrim, I've bought now twice, 3 times, something along like those lines. So, I mean, at that point, I've spent like 120, probably more on it between like DLCs when I had it for the Xbox 360 and stuff like that.
I can't fault you for that. I bought it multiple times too.
Right. I think we all have. Yeah. As many times as we, talk shit about Bethesda releasing it, we all end up buying it again anyway.
Not everybody. There are some people who hate it out there, and I get it.
There are some,
but I know that Phil Billy will never buy a copy of it. But
yeah, but like something like that, the amount of time that I've put into that game, and it is designed in such a way. It doesn't. I don't think it needs any sort of story at all.
No,
that's one of the exceptions, because I honestly, even like me playing it again here recently. When I started playing it before, I fought the first dragon, and then I shut off all quests. Anything I picked up, no markers, no anything. I could give 2 single solitary shits about what was going on in the world and what it was that they wanted me to do. I was just hopping from marker to marker to marker, just clearing out anything I could find. Oh, yeah. Come across the Mages Guild? Sure, let's do that one, because I was feeling like doing it.
Well, and that's the thing about the Skyrim, even the main quest in that, it really doesn't feel like it's a main quest, to be honest. Like, I know there's the main Dragonborn quest in that, but really, honestly, right off the bat, they're kind of like, okay, you're on your own, do what you want. And that's, I like that. I like that. Like, you actually have to work a little bit to even get on that main quest line, because if you just decide to walk in a different direction when you walk out of that first cave, you're good. You just do whatever you want, Yeah. Yeah. That I would definitely classify that more as a sandbox game.
It is.
Than a
100%.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah, Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I think that I see what you're saying. I was just going to comment on the value and worth. I don't necessarily agree with you that you shouldn't tie the amount of money spent to the value of the game. I think that is 100% what you should do. But I think you should ask yourself, are you having an X amount of dollar experience when you're playing it? Like, is this an experience for you that's worth that $70? And you should seek out the games that are worth the amount that you're spending on them. And that being said, I don't love it when even you get a 20-hour narrative game that's $60 or $70, because I don't think that that's worth it to me. That's not gonna, like, I'm not gonna get my worth out of that over the course of however amount of time that I may or may not have it. And we live in a society where we're dominated by money. That's how we do things in America. It's unfortunate. I don't love it, but it's the way it is. I mean, and it's definitely the way it is in gaming. It is never more prevalent than it is in gaming, because they are just trying to find every way to make money off of us on gaming. So you really have to get your worth out of the games. You really have to wring those things for everything they're worth. Because, look, I'm a 40-year-old man. I'm not doing bad. I got a family. We've got money. And still, I have to consider every game purchase, against a whole slew of other real-life things that I should be doing with that money. So, like, when I spend that $70, I want to know that at any point in time, I can go back and play that bad boy and enjoy that bad boy. Like, and that's something, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big bargain, try and find the deals sort of guy. So I very rarely spend full price on games, but But there have been some times, especially when they're Epic Store exclusives, where it's like, if I want to buy this, I got to buy it full price. Am I going to regret it? A purchase I've made recently that I've regretted was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I bought that at full price on Epic Store because it was an exclusive. I loved it for about 2 days, and then I was like, I think I've grown out of this type of game. I may never play that game again. I haven't even finished it. And like that kind of thing, that sticks with me, and it might just be me and my over-analytical brain, but like to me, that is a mistake. That's $60 I can't get back that I have wasted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's my main thought process whenever I look at a game. And like when I go to, consider a purchase of a game and like what I want to spend my time doing. I work 40 hours plus school part-time. I have to, in my free time between all of that, I have to make sure the house is kept up, and cooking, and lawn stuff in the spring, summer, fall. So when I think about what it is that I want, I don't want to get something, buy one single solitary game that I know full well is going to take me many, many, many months to even have a chance at finishing. Like, honestly, like Horizon Forbidden West, with that took me way longer to finish than I wanted to. I got that launch day. I went on vacation from work, like, I want to say 2 days after it came out or something like that, or a week or something like that. I blasted through as much of it as I possibly could in that period of time, and I just finished it. And recently went to a game that I had bought a while ago once when it first came out, and actually ended up buying the special edition version of it because why not? With Devil May Cry 5. So compared to the amount of time that I've played that game and the progress that I've made with that game compared to Horizon and everything like that, in the end, I've spent about the same amount of money. Being, I bought Devil May Cry 5 originally for like $50. I bought the special edition for $20. So that's like $70, which is what I spent on Horizon. And the progress that I've made and the satisfaction I feel from the progress that I'm making with Devil May Cry 5 is a bit better, because I know that I'm making progress and that I'm about halfway through, and hey, maybe in 2 weeks or something like that, whenever I end up finishing this, there's something else that I want to go through and play. Like, I still never finished the Halo Infinite campaign because Halo Infinite came out. There was so much to do in that. There was so much to do in that Horizon came out, and I was more hyped for Horizon than Halo, but I still wanted to finish Halo. So like, that's kind of the cycle that I get in. So like, when there's sandboxy sort of games come out, like, I want the ones that I do want to play, I absolutely want to play them, but I almost feel like I'm just critical pathing them, mainlining them just so I can get through, because eventually, like, I want to play the game, I love the game, but I also want it to stop so I can have a full, complete experience. I like
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just gonna add one more thing, because like, sometimes I feel like there's some games that either have too much content for what I am personally looking for, or you get a game that's something like we did just recently finish Tiny Tina's. We beat the last boss, and I know at this point the Chaos Chamber relatively soon should be opening up, or has opened up. We sat through the literal 45 minutes of credits. I'm not even exaggerating. It was an absolute nightmare. But once we load that back up, that will be the next thing available to me. And don't get me wrong, I want to give that a shot for a minute, but I also know that, like, there is still stuff that the game wants me to do, but the main purpose, I guess, is the best way I can describe it.
Oh, I see what you're
like
saying.
being the story has completed. So there is stuff to do. I enjoy taking advantage of some of that, but at the same time, I'm not going to do the same sort of stuff over and over, or go back through and just because I have, my level cap goes up, I'm going to go back in and level back up for stuff that doesn't necessarily mean anything, if that makes sense, toward the overall story the game was telling.
No, I get it. I think some of our our motivations are in some way the same. It's just the way we acquire them are a little bit different. I see that you want the story to end so that you feel that you've done it, you've completed it, whereas I never want that completed feeling. I want instead never to have to worry about completing the game, never have to think that, oh, I missed the game.
Missed something.
Yeah. Whereas, like I said, with I keep going back to No Man's Sky just because it's something I was playing recently, but with that, when I set it down, I'm fine. The other thing about No Man's Sky that's awesome is other people's experience. They do completely different things with it, and I have never even heard of that, and then I'll see it, and then I'll be like, oh, that'll get me back into it for a little while, and then I'll get out of it. But there's a lot of games like that you can do that with, and that's kind of the sandbox experience for me. Like, if Halo Infinite wasn't about Master Chief, it was just about all the side quests, it would be, in my opinion, a better I haven't played it, but it'd probably be a more entertaining experience when it. And honestly, that feeds into the next part of this conversation that I wanted to have. When the merging of these two fail or succeed, and I think that a big failure for me are games like Halo Infinite, Red Dead Redemption 2, Assassin's Creed. When there's just all these things to do, but you're just weighted down by these big cinematic stories that are worked into the game that I don't necessarily think need to be there,
Yeah, so, touching on that, even though I just got done saying, I enjoyed, finishing Horizon Forbidden West, I did it, this, that, and the other. Overall, if I were to take a step back objectively and look at the game overall, what it provided, what I got from it, what it wanted to show me, overall, the story was there. It was a narrative experience. But like you said, there was way too much stuff for me to do.
Right.
I originally started trying to, anytime I saw the little exclamation for a quest, go pick it up. Right. Oh, it's a real quick go run over here, take out these 5 machines. Okay, cool. Let somebody know you did it. Great, fine, whatever. But when you are like 10 hours in to a story, not just like an open world, situation, but like an actual, it's trying to tell you a story. But every single time you're telling a story, the story's being told to you, you're getting distracted by this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
Honestly, it's almost how I tell stories, truthfully. Because what ends up happening is I have the main idea in my head, and I'll start talking about something, but I'll get hung up on tiny details that don't really matter to the overall story that I'm telling. Right. It's just like that. Yeah. Where, sure, you can go help this person, and they find a way to weave it in to make it seem like it's actually a part of the game. Right. But one way or another, if you finish all the side quests that a single person gives you for some side story, they might give you a little, X, Y, and Z, and hey, when you're going to do the big thing at the end, this will help you, and know that you have my blessing, or like, dude may show up at some point, but doesn't actually change anything. Right. That there, like you were alluding to, that there, I think, is a failure of the meshing of those two ideas.
Right. Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that, there's a lot of them that do that. I also don't like the games that give you the illusion of a sandbox when there isn't really one. Borderlands is pretty guilty of that recently. Same with Outriders. A lot of games that they're like, oh, it's an open world. And then you realize it's not an open world. You go to the next place, and if there's nothing really to do at the place before it other than kill the same monsters over and over again. You know what I mean? Like that's not open world. That's not experiencing things over here. That's just like, well, you could go anywhere, but there's just nothing there because you already did the thing there, and you're doing it still in a linear way. But it's like, it gives you this illusion of freedom because it's like this whole world you can go to. But it's like, oh yeah, but all the quests are right here. You have to go there and get all those quests, you know. And that kind of thing irks me a little bit. I think though there are some merging of some of these that could be good. While this is not technically an open world game, as much as I would like, I still want to mention it. I think Wildermyth is another one where they do something very open ended. But they do it in a way to tell a story, and they somehow make that work. And I think that like there are times when you can tell that story. I also love the idea of certain games where you go to a place and you do a story right in the moment, and then you move on, such as like State of Decay 2. I think that's another success story in my opinion. You get on this map, it's an open world map, you can kind of come at it any way, you've got procedurally generated characters, but there are still these stories that are evolving moment to moment that kind of craft a narrative kind of specific to you that I think it works very well, you know?
Yeah. I think the one example that I can point to that is in my opinion, the perfect melding of the open world, but a story-driven experience as well, is Breath of the Wild. Because it absolutely has a story. It tees you up with that story in the form of here's how you use all of your runes on the Great Plateau. This is the general gist of what you're going to be doing. Okay, you got that down? All right, so, like, here's your end goal. Do it if you want. Don't do it if you want. We literally don't care. If you want to know the story, go ahead and do the things. And also, there's, like, these 15 random points in the map that if you seek them out, you'll get a little bits and pieces of the story and, you know, figure out what's going on. Or, if you also want, do as much of this as you want. When you feel like you've had your fill, just go in the main thing here and do the Zelda thing. That's all it is. So Link takes down Ganon, Zelda's there, it's great. Like, it's that for me is wonderful because I think I've put more time into Breath of the Wild than I have into Skyrim. It's very close, but I think I have more time in Breath of the Wild. Because there's that story, the quote-unquote Zelda thing that you're basically doing with every single game, but it's presented to you in that way of, hey, you're free to go about this however you want. There's multiple different, like, puzzles that can be solved any different way. Like, the shrines all have, like, 4 different ways that they can be solved. But at the same time, you're still playing Link. You're still doing the main Zelda story. You know,
I was purposely not mentioning Breath of the Wild, but you have mentioned it now, so you have opened the door. This is something I think we will firmly disagree on. I've been really thinking about my time with Breath of the Wild and my experience with Breath of the Wild, which was, I'm not going to lie to anybody, relatively overwhelmingly positive. However, I actually think Breath of the Wild was kind of a failure on the sandbox narrative angle. I don't necessarily agree with you, and here's why. All the stuff you can do in that, all of the stuff you can do, tells the story. It's linear. It's just in different chunks. That's all. And you get to decide which chunks you read. Like I can't just, like, pick fucking flowers all day. Basically, there's a cooking system, but that is specifically for stats that you kind of need. And then that's it. There's really no other activities that really don't drive the storyline in some way, shape, or form. Which, unlike if you were to compare that to Red Dead 2, let's say. Red Dead 2, there is literally hundreds of things you can do that don't in any way, shape, or form drive the storyline whatsoever. There is contests and horse breeding and fishing and all sorts of shit like that. Breath of the Wild doesn't really have all those. I mean, and that's something that kind of bothers me about Breath of the Wild. Also, Breath of the Wild ends when you do the Ganon thing, which it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It definitely. There's no. I'm not saying there's no end game, because I understand it's not something you super want, but like there's nothing to do after it. Like that game is really smart for Zelda games, because no Zelda game has ever done what it did, which is say, hey, tell the story in any way you want, but the story is the same. It's just how you want to go about telling it to yourself and how much of it you want to hear. Whereas there's no other stories really. It's just that. It's those segments, and whether or not you tell those segments in those orders or how you go about it. For me, Breath of the Wild is kind of empty in a lot of ways as far as the world goes. And again, Breath of the Wild was an overwhelmingly positive experience for me. For a Zelda game, it's unlike any else, but I think it actually kind of falls short when you compare it to other open world games. I know everybody went crazy about the whole like climb anything and the environment is very reactive, which it is, and that's cool, but there's still not a ton of stuff to do with that environmental reactivity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I like if I put my personal me putting aside my personal tastes in games, looking objectively at the facts, like I understand, what it is that you're saying, where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I think in my
I understand where you're coming from too.
Right.
Not to be overwhelmingly nice, but
right.
I know everybody's waiting for us to fight, but
yeah, it's weird because no, I get it. There's not all these other millions of things to do, but I think at the end of the day, it still harkens back to my personal, I want there to be an end, but I want to enjoy the journey of getting to where that end is.
Which this definitely has that.
Right. That's also kind of that's somewhat of the same with Skyrim, because eventually, I did, when I had my first original save.
Right.
I personally never finished the story. I watched Kayla finish the story
of Skyrim.
Skyrim, yeah. I got to level 80 something with my dude, but that went from hey, I'm going to do the story at my own pace to, you know what? No, I'm just going to run off in any sort of direction.
Yeah.
And it evolves to that, and that's kind of like something like Stardew Valley. That, I mean, Kayla and I have been playing constantly. I was playing it before I even came down to do this with playing with her. There is no story. Your story is what you make of it.
Right.
And I think with that, there are goals that you can set for yourself, and you don't have to necessarily interact with everything. But how that game is presented in its simplicity doesn't overwhelm me with things. There's 6 different main things that you can do. You can farm, you can mine, you can fight things, you can fish, that sort of stuff. And you pick a couple of those, you stick with them, and a couple of the other things you don't deal with. But with that, you're building your own character, you create your own storyline, basically, as to what it is that you want to do.
It's very sandboxy.
It is. It's very sandboxy. But with that, I don't feel like there's too much. It is. It's hard to describe because
I see what you're saying.
It's a refinement of, instead of here are these 20 different options that you can have and you can do. Well, here's 6.
Right.
Pick and choose from those. Focus on what you want and do your own thing. I don't feel it's I have to do this, I have to do that, and if I want to do this X, Y, and Z, I have to do A, B, and C, and you kind of get caught up in the minutia of some of those things with some games that have a lot of stuff with them.
And that's what let me just go ahead and ask you this. If someone were to say, okay, Breath of the Wild's the game, but Link's out, You make your own character. There's no Ganon thing going on. And then there's just individual storylines in all the different places, but you also have a ability to buy stores, buy property, romance characters, grab like livestock, stuff like that, while also fighting monsters and questing. Which would you take? Because I know which I'd take, and it would definitely be the latter.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Is like at that point, I would wonder why it's Zelda.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily, but it would be. That's my perfect game, but yeah, like,
right? No, like I get it. It's just like there's some games like if you presented it as like a no-name thing,
right?
Like let's say here is game X where you get to create your own character. One of them is you create your own character and go through A, B, C, D in a straight linear path.
Right.
Or you can also create a character in the same world, in the same vein, but you have A, B, C, D, and you can do A if you want, you can do A and C if you want. At that point, like that's a little bit different of a conversation, and I think that's what matters more. And at that point, I feel like it just depends on what the game presents. Because
if you're doing A through C or A through D or whatever, you're in a linear game. It's the thing. Like that's my problem. Right. Is like no matter how much sandbox you have around it, you're in a linear game. If Breath of the Wild was non-linear, meaning there really wasn't a thing or a big bad to fight at the end, and you could just do whatever you wanted, it would be a way more enjoyable experience. Honestly, I would have had even more enjoyment if when Ganon was destroyed, there was any sort of reason to continue to explore, because it was such a cool world. But then the minute you beat Ganon, the game just ends. It doesn't even put you back in the game, for starters, which is really crazy for any game that's open world. But aside from that, there'd be nothing to do even if you could. What would you go find? What would you go do? Other than maybe slay a couple of monsters that you haven't killed, the big legendary guys that are lurking around. Other than that, what are you doing with your life? Like, I feel like if there had been anything after Ganon, it would have been a much more enjoyable experience for me. But man, would I love just let me make a character and live in that world, but just make the world a little bit more interactive. But we got to move on, man. Unless you got any final thoughts here, we got to go to odds and ends. We're at 48 minutes right now.
Yeah, no, I think that went well with a lot.
Yeah. We just lost your audio, man.
What?
There it is. It's back. We got. I think that went well, and then we watched your mouth move a bunch, and then you said
Jesus.
What? Yeah.
Now I'm scared shitless, and I want to run a speed test to see what happens.
Don't run a speed test. We're fine. You're fine.
Run a speed test.
All right. Well, while he runs the speed test, we'll be right back with odds and ends, probably.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, that brings us to our final segment. That is odds and ends. We collect smaller news stories. We don't necessarily deserve a full talking point. We just talk about them, riff about them, let you guys know. Neil's got 7. I got 6. Neil's starting us off. What you got for us, Neil?
All right. Well, I think I'll just start with the one that I had mentioned that might have possibly spun off into a talking point. But Microsoft has made a claim. And that claim is that Sony is paying fees to developers to keep them from putting their games on Game Pass. So I think you and I might be the same mind on this.
Okay, let's hear your mind, and then we'll find out.
The only thing is, the only wrinkle that I throw into that is, there's some things that's just like basic exclusivity shit. Because, like, the one, at least personally, the one main game that had PlayStation exclusivity for console that made literally no sense to me, and apparently everyone else, was Street Fighter V. Sony paid Capcom a lot of money to have Street Fighter V locked to PS4 consoles. And it is
did not
apparent,
work out for Capcom.
and it did not work out. It is very apparent for that, as the game was not as popular as Street Fighter 4 or any of the iterations of Street Fighter 4 were. And Street Fighter 6, one of the first things that they announced was, hey, all platforms, or at least, obviously the Switch isn't going to get it, but, Xbox, PlayStation, this, that, and the other. Like, they learned their lesson. But I know that Sony does stuff like that. We all know that Sony does stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft paid off some of their people to not go over to Sony's weird whatever it is. But at the same time, it absolutely 100% Sony has to be doing it.
The idea that Sony is not giving kickbacks to companies to not go into Games Pass is crazy. Because, honestly, I think it's kind of weird that Microsoft even accuses them of this. Because Microsoft literally gives kickbacks to people to be on Game Pass. So why wouldn't Sony give people kickbacks to not be on Game Pass? Like, this is a normal thing. You're paying money to get them in there. Why wouldn't they pay money to keep them from you? It's kind of childish to me that this is even a thing, really. Like, at the end of the day, they pay the people to not be on their subscription service to make them more valuable. Why wouldn't they? That being said, Sony doesn't need any more bad press. This is still going to look bad in the mainstream news, and Sony just keeps looking terrible one step at a time.
To be fair, this is an accusation that Microsoft has made. It's not Sony coming out and saying anything, but at the same time, it's very much like, yeah, we're pretty sure that they're probably doing it.
If I was Sony, I would be like, how much do you give companies to be on Game Pass? Are you really saying that they just come in and be like, we want to give our game away for free on your subscription service for no extra dollars? Like, it's got to be a lucrative deal, or these people would not be on that subscription service. That's just not how the world works. So, like, the idea that, like, Microsoft's like, how dare you, is a little ridiculous in this case. A little ridiculous. All right, so I'll move right in, keeping the segue going. Xbox is planning a 6-hour Gamescom conference.
Jesus.
What? 6 hours, man? How much games do you have? And how many bullshit announced trailers are going to be of that thing, man? Jesus Christ! Like, 6 hours? Wow!
I think it's going to be like, oh, we have 6 hours of games to show. It's like, here's an hour of the next Forza game. And like, oh, you want to see Madden for 2.5 hours? Well, here it is, champ.
Yeah, a lot of streaming. It's going to be like the Skull and Bones reveal stream, where it was like 20 minutes of Skull and Bones reveal and then 40 minutes of them just playing the game, which is nice. I liked that, but like still 6 hours at a Gamescom is a little crazy.
Yeah. So since we were just talking about some, right into this one here. So the relatively final official sales numbers for the PS4 have been released. In its lifetime, the PS4 has sold 117 million units as of March 2022. That makes it the fourth best-selling console of all time, followed by the Game Boy / Game Boy Color, Nintendo DS, and the number one console, of course, is the PS2, having sold 155 million units.
Yeah.
Now, of course, they're still going to get, some here and there, but for the most part, I believe they have discontinued the manufacture of the PS4s. So now it's just what they have left in the warehouse. Those things are selling still, but very slowly, of course. So I'm sure those numbers are going to kick up a little bit, but not enough for it to make a difference. So I would be really curious to see what the Xbox One sold compared to that, because I always thought, the PS4 was the more popular one, but I didn't think it was like a bloodbath.
I don't know if it's a bloodbath or not. I think that those top four are going to be four for existence.
while.
No, forever. Because I'm going to say this again. I don't think consoles. I don't think they're going to continue in the fashion that they have continued. There's just too much in the news now. They've got Xbox is going on like TVs now.
Yeah.
You could just play it on TVs, and Google is talking about doing games that you could just search for them and go right into the game, like.
With Stadia?
I'm gonna stay away from that one. With the way that they're pushing streaming technology and stuff. And again, this isn't something for the entire world. Obviously not yet, but we're getting closer and closer to it. Xbox is pushing much more into the digital space with PCs. Things are just getting pushed more into the digital space. I don't think consoles are going to continue. I don't think there will be a PS6. I don't think there will be another Xbox console. I mean, there'll be probably some variations on the 5 and the S and X that's out right now. But I don't think that we're going to get whole new console generation. I think we're done with console generations, which means that those 4 are probably the 4 forever, in my opinion. Unless the 5 outsells it, but it's just not going to happen because of how shitty, because of how they released it. And it's the same with Xbox. They released it in a shitty year. They released it stupidly. They're still paying for the whole chip shortage thing. It's never going to equal those numbers. And I think the heyday of consoles is done. It's on its way down. In my opinion, I don't think we're going to see more generations. I think we're done. I think those 4 are locked.
I think the Switch is going to end up beating the PS4 at least.
Oh, that might.
I think it might.
Because people will keep buying that because it's just portable. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so my turn, right?
Yep.
I don't have a way to continue the segue, so...
That's all right.
Nightingale's been delayed, guys. I didn't even know what was going on with it, but it's officially been delayed. I really am excited about that game. I want to say that ahead of time, but their messaging on when this thing has been available has been shitty, to say the least. So far, they kind of were like, it's coming out this year, but later this year, but it's going to go into early access, but a little bit earlier in this year, and just they were all over the board with their release dates, and they never actually gave any definitive release dates other than this year, weirdly enough, but they have said specifically that their early access is being delayed into the first half of 2023. So that's out of here. That gets added to the list of 45 plus AAA games that have been delayed towards the end of this year. Really? Really? And you know what? Do you mind if I just do 2 since we're talking delays?
May as well. And if it's not the one that I have...
Say that again?
I said if it's not the one that I have, I'll have behind it.
Midnight Suns has been delayed.
Yep, there it is.
From October 7th to who the fuck knows when.
That's the part that gets me.
It's another one of these indefinite delays. So it's going to release on October 7th. They have said, we don't know when, but it'll be out next year. So with that, I kind of did a little looking. So what we're looking at for technically AAA games, Skull and Bones. Then you have the Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is another one still coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's a Call of Duty coming out this year.
Yeah.
And then Splatoon 3. That's all I can find for AAA games, unless you can name another one that I'm not thinking of right now.
No.
I mean, there's...
No, I mean
AAA guys, like the big budget ones. I know there's still some other ones coming out. Like, I know something's coming out on Xbox, but it's AAA only. AAA.
So, I'm thinking at this point, because, I mean, Nintendo had their Splatoon Direct bullshit, whatever, a couple days ago. I really think that they only have until the end of next month to make any sort of announcement for anything that might be coming out this year.
Yeah, I think Splatoon 3 is it, man.
Yeah, and honestly, at this rate, I think Splatoon 3 is it. Yeah. I don't think we're getting a Metroid trilogy. I don't think we're getting any information at all on Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel.
Nope.
Anything like that. And honestly, it's bizarre because at that point, we have those, 4 games outside of some indies.
Yep.
We are in August, the middle of August, and it's already, that's it. And we start talking about games of the year at this point in the middle of August when it's still technically summer? Are you shitting me?
This is one of the weakest holiday seasons I think we have seen in years. And last year was bad for holiday seasons. Last year was bad overall, period.
Yeah.
But this holiday season is just atrocious for any AAA releases coming out.
This year was supposed to be stacked too.
Yeah.
I remember us having conversations of, wow, this year is going to be horrible because, X, Y, and Z is all going to be coming out. I mean, sure, God of War still might be coming out this year.
Oh, that's right. I didn't include that for obvious reasons.
I mean,
obvious reasons.
But, who knows?
I think I'm going to enjoy the pizza you order me. That's what I think.
But seriously, this year was supposed to be overwhelmingly stacked. Yeah. And we had a loaded back half. Mm-hmm. We absolutely had a loaded back half. But I mean, after
we had a good opening, and then it just tapered into nothing, and we've had nothing on this this back half. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we could reasonably do Game of the Year awards now, and we'd be fine.
It's sad,
it's very sad. It's very sad. All right, man. You're up. I only got 2 left.
All right. Well, I guess the movies now are starting to take a book out of ridiculous announcements way ahead of time.
Okay.
Because the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie is set to release December 20th, 2024. Sure.
Why not? I think somebody's just saying, can we get it done by then, you think? Okay. All right. I mean, we don't even know if Jim Carrey's retired or not yet. It's a little ridiculous.
That's literally what I was about to say, because he's gone on and said, this is it, I'm done, this, that, and the other. Jack Black said the same exact thing, and he's supposed to be playing Claptrap.
Yeah.
So, and Bowser. So, okay. Sure,
and Kung Fu Panda 4 was announced too, so Jack Black's supposed to be in. Geez. Yeah, they're trying to figure out if Jack Black's going to do voices for that too.
So that's the thing is I don't think we're done with Jim Carrey just yet, especially given the fact that if it's been announced already like this, they have to have already inked a deal with him for him to come back. They would not put an announcement like that without him, or at least some sort of replacement for him.
Personally, with these franchise deals, usually they ink deals
way ahead of time
for 3 movies, before they even get into it if they're planning a franchise. So I would be surprised he's not just under contract to do it. Although I've been on the record as saying I think he had too much fun to not do a 3rd one. He just has too much fun doing this role. So yeah. But that is super early. We'll have to see how that goes. How many you got left?
I have 1, 2, 3.
All right, go ahead with another one because I only got 2.
All right. So apparently, not that I fight, but Diablo 4 is leaking absolutely everywhere, and it seems that the leakers do not give one single solitary shit. Huh. So all of their personal identifying info is all over their streams and videos that they've been posting. I guess they get a code for these closed betas that has all that info that can be traced back to them in the end. Apparently streamers have even said, something along the lines of, well, I guess I'm just going to do this. I don't care what they have to say about it, because that's what, people think of Activision Blizzard at this point. But I mean, like I said, it's a closed beta, which may imply the use of some sort of restrictions or NDA sort of things. So it's unclear exactly why people are leaking this like this, but it's almost en masse. And from what it sounds like, from all the info that's come out from these leaks and everything like this game is going to be bare bones as shit. Granted, it is an earlier build, but there are only the classes that have been announced, minor character customization, and that's about it. And a game that is supposed to be relatively close to launch, something like that, we would assume has a little bit more than that to it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. After their nightmarish fucking mobile game, and then them double downing and basically saying that, like, microtransactions are good and everybody loves them.
And that's the thing, is everybody hates that game, but it's made a ludicrous amount of money already. So,
Yes.
I mean, part of it, I'm sure, is people who are just making videos exposing how ridiculous it is. I know there have been other people who have done that. We've made mention before of a story about a person who spent, it was like $10,000 or $100,000 to get an epic level item and just deleted it out of principle and frustration. But when you do shit like that, who is laughing in the end? It's Activision Blizzard. Because they're making the money.
Right.
Like, I don't, like, that's the thing. You're not teaching somebody a lesson. You're not showing us something that we don't already know is going.
What's crazy is how ballsy these companies have gotten with their reaction to it. The Activision Blizzard CEO recently went on record. There is a story on IGN. He went on record and said that, like, the microtransactions are perfectly fine in our game, and there's nothing wrong with them, even with everything going on. Yeah, he was like, you can play this amount of time without spending anything, and when you have to spend anything, then that's on you. And like the fucking, did you hear what the EA guy said about loot boxes?
Oh God, what?
He said loot boxes are perfectly fine. And he didn't say that they're just perfectly fine. He said there's something that people come to expect and enjoy from our FIFA series. For Ultimate Team.
Andrew Wilson is a fuck.
Yeah.
He's just as bad as Bobby Kotick. He doesn't get the spotlight because he's not as aggressive with it, but he's just like, he's like a cold, calculated business person. Like, that is it.
And EA has nothing about, like, you know, rape and harassment and shit like that. There's nothing like that in there, so
that we know
that. Nothing's come out with it, so he's a little bit better than Bobby Kotick. But, like, yeah, he came out and said that, like, oh, you don't have to buy any of them, and if you decide to buy them, that's your choice. And people love loot boxes, and they love the fun of getting them and opening them and everything like that. Yeah, that's what's crazy to me, is just how many of these game companies are doubling down on like their shitty practices. Like, hey, no, you guys want this. Definitely you guys want this. It's on you. It's not on us.
It's not even like us guys too. It's just not to keep this going. It's because I hate talking about this sort of shit.
Yeah.
But that's the thing,
Same
is
here.
it is designed in such a way to be predatory and to just take advantage of people who have these predispositions to those sorts of loot boxy, gambling, FOMO tendencies.
Or people who don't know better.
People who don't know better, or literally who fall into that same category is like kids and shit who don't understand how this works, and they just think it's free money, and then mom or dad opens up their credit card bill and sees $2,000 went to somebody to one single game, but you reach out to contact them about it because we all know it's ridiculous, and they call them on it, and they just point them to a hyperlink for an article that says, hey, here's what you can do in the future to make sure this doesn't happen. This has become a very expensive lesson for you. Fuck off.
Yeah. Straight up. Multiverses surpasses 10 million players, so it is officially a viable contender for Smash. It is out there. It is competition, and good on it for that. Regardless of what you may think about it. Its actual Season 1, just to add to this, which was delayed, actually wasn't delayed that long. It's coming out tomorrow, as of our recording. April 15th is when it's starting. And it will come with a new character, Morty, from Rick and Morty. And then Rick is actually making his appearance on August 23rd. So they are going to be adding regular characters, which was really one of the only complaints that I saw, was that there wasn't a ton of characters right at launch. But they're obviously supporting it. And I've heard nothing but good things. I actually said to you, you and I should play it for a show or a stream. And then you never responded to me.
I died. That's what happened. I got the plague.
Oh, was that before? Was that right before that?
That's what happened. Is I got the plague. Yeah,
I mean, you could have still responded to the text, but I get it.
My bad.
Hey, I'm dying.
To be fair, I'm literally trying to open Steam.
You should have just held it and then been like frowny face on it. the sick emote for the messenger.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We should play that on stream at some point. I think that'd be fun.
Steam won't open for me right now. I don't know
what to tell you on that, but maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't be trying to add another application to your internet at this particular juncture.
That's
while we're recording.
That's also fair.
Not to sound like the dad or anything, but
no, you right.
I am down to play this with you, though. I haven't played it on my own, and I hear that it's best played with two people, 2v2. Yes. So I would love to give this one a shot with you.
For sure. I would be down for this because I am curious.
All right, I only have one more.
Okay, I have two.
Okay.
So I will go here, and this one's short, sweet, and I really hope that it comes to consoles in this way.
Okay.
Someone has modded the Nemesis system into Skyrim.
Well, I don't have any anymore.
Aww. Sorry I stole it. But
it's okay. I want to try it. I want to try it so bad.
Oh my god. We need that.
Yes.
That would be great. From what I understand.
I don't know how they got around the patents. That's what's crazy to me. And they even said we found a way to get around it. It's different enough.
Right. So, if you get killed by some enemy, it will make them like your nemesis. They will get stronger over time. They will take your shit. They will show up at the worst possible time to fuck your shit up.
Yeah.
I have seen that even a mud crab can be your nemesis, which would be fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I really want to do this mod. It sounds amazing. I don't know. I think it's one, though. I don't think it's one that's in the Bethesda storefront, which is a bummer. I think it's one you gotta seek out.
Yeah.
Which those are like the Skyrim Together. Is another one I kind of want to try at some point in my life. But that's one I really want to try. I really want to try the Nemesis one. Because that sounds amazing to me.
So I only have this one last one, and this one, I don't know why this one fucking just pisses me off.
Oh, goody. Reason. It's ending on a downer.
Yeah, apparently Dragon Ball is coming to Fortnite August 16th, because
I saw that.
The last thing that Goku needs is a fucking gun. What? What? Don't get me wrong. I appreciate what Fortnite is doing with pushing the bounds of what is a game and what is a service with, concerts and stuff like that, and getting all the crossovers together and shit. But the amount of crossovers there have been for no other reason other than, hey, there is a /game/ TV show / insert piece of media here coming out that is popular with the kids / adults. Let's fucking just throw it in, my dudes.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure they're going to have a mode where you have to find the Dragon Balls, and you wish for Shenron to destroy everybody else, and that's how you win, and this, that, and
that's what they did with the Marvel thing. You could get the Infinity Stones and something, right?
Yes, the Gauntlet.
Yeah.
And then turn into Thanos and start bouncing all over the place and all this crazy shit.
I'm not, nor will I ever be a Fortnite guy, so I don't know what to say about this. I played it once, didn't love it, so moved on.
I gave it a solid 3 hours just to say that I gave it a try. it's not that I don't understand it. I understand exactly what it is. I just think it's dumb.
I don't necessarily think it's dumb. I will say that, like, it's just not what I want in a battle royale, I guess, is the best way to say it. You know, when that was out, it was that or PUBG, and I preferred PUBG, so I just stuck with PUBG. I got a very different battle royale love right now, which is Rumbleverse. But
oh yeah, didn't that just come out?
Yeah, there's actually a freaking queue for it today, which surprised me. Like, you couldn't even get in. But yeah, I played it on release day, which was Thursday, and it is a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It's also doing something that close combat competitive games don't usually do. It's slow and methodical instead of fast paced at all times.
Yeah,
Twitch reflexes, like even Naraka is like, if somebody catches you napping, they've already got like a 50% chance of killing you. You know what I mean? Whereas with this, you can take a few hits, run away, heal, come back, fight them a little bit longer, you know? Plus, there's some really cool aspects about it that other battle royales don't do that I really enjoy. It's got a really big map, but you can't just go anywhere on the map right away. You've got the zone, but the zone is already there. There's already one level of zone. So it forces everybody there at all times. So all drops are hot drops, period. You're fighting people right off the bat. You can't hide. You're in the fight. And I thought that was really interesting. There's always action. I'm never like running around looking for people, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's, that was it for you, right?
Yeah, that was it for me.
All right, let's wrap this sucker up. Get some sleep.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, anything you want to plug?
Well, I mean, you can find me and a bunch of us here on the channel, and not just here, but over on Axiom Games, playing Upper Hand Wrestling, a brand new card game that lets you be a wrestler. And Zach and Phil did these wonderful commercials for that. I just have to say to you in person, man, I sent you a message after I watched the reel that you put together for them. Your dedication to the bit is just phenomenal. I mean, I don't want to give too much away with these because it is a saga, I'm assuming, given how it is going to be out. And I just want to know if that was the plan all along.
Yeah. So anybody who hasn't seen it, or is watching it at the beginning of these, slight spoilers for our advertisements, I guess. But you'll have seen them at the beginning of these podcasts. I'm editing them in rotation into all our shows at the beginning. And basically, I grew a full beard to do it, and then I literally cut chunks of the beard off to pretend to be other wrestlers of fame. I do Macho Man, Triple H, The Rock, and then just me. I did. I grew out a full beard for 4 months. You guys watched it happen. You guys could definitely tell when I shaved, because the first podcast after we did it, I was completely shaved. You could have done, like, that's when we did it. We did it that Friday.
The only other question that I have,
sure,
is did you let Phil know that this was the plan?
Yes, I did.
Oh, man,
he was totally in on it.
You should have just gone in and like not said anything. Just like straight up do the one, like, okay, we're gonna do another, just like it's another take or something, and just pull out clippers and just have his natural response and just keep going with it. Don't tell him what's going on. Just keep going.
Yeah, it was funny. It was good. They're good advertisements. So yeah, I've cut them down. There's 4 in total. You can watch the total ad reel on Axiom Games LLC, or you can watch them here on the show because they're in rotation in each different chunk. As for me, yes, we are also doing a live play of the new tabletop game right here. It's on camera right now. Upper Hand, an Axiom game, wrestling game. It's a tabletop RPG / card game about professional wrestling. Buy one today. They're cheap. Please buy one.
But Zach,
I need money. What?
Zach, where can I go to get one of these things?
DriveThruGames.com is where you can go to get it. But honestly, if you find any one of our promotional videos and you just click our link tree, we're also on Facebook. You can just buy them right through there as a link, and we actually get a kickback if you do that. So please buy those games. You can also check out that live play show that's coming out. It comes out on Axiom Saturdays, and then it comes out on Old Man Gaming every Tuesday. And then same episode, but we just put them on both. I also want to say I'm back to doing some reviews. We did mention Rumbleverse. I will have, if you're listening to this or watching this, the review for Rumbleverse is already up. I'm recording audio for it after we're done here. And yeah, putting that up tomorrow, getting a review up. I'm going to try and do 2 Point Campus as well. And then, of course, Midnight Fight Express will be reviewed by me. So please check that out. Other than that, you guys can reach us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Link is in the description below. Please influence us. It influences this and all of our shows from there. And as long as you keep watching and listening, you can keep listening to this. We'll keep making it. We'll see you guys next time. All right.
I did wind up seeing Uncharted last Tuesday.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. It's a solid, serviceable movie.
No, it wasn't at all. Are you kidding me?
I thought it was all right for a game movie.
It was terrible. It was terrible, man.
Terrible.
I didn't hate it. I didn't absolutely hate it, but there was so much stupid in it that it's very hard.
What did you not like?
I didn't like the fact that they're wooden ships, Neil. They're wooden ships in a saltwater cave for over 500 years. The minute you wrapped ropes around them and hoisted them into the air, they would disintegrate into nothing. They would just float away with the air. They're like spinning them around in the air while they're running around on them. And then there's actually a part where they're having this big fight scene on this wood that it should not exist. That is basically hypothetical. And then they're doing weird kickflip spins off the ropes that are attached to the wood, which would be disintegrated long before the wood is, by the way. They're just spinning their entire body weights on it. And then the one dude's sword breaks from rust. Did you notice that?
Yes.
His metal sword broke from degradation over the wood and the rope.
I mean, if you're concerned about suspension of disbelief,
it's too much. It's too much. It's too much suspension of disbelief, man. It's just too much. It's too much.
I think too much. Building
Marvel wouldn't pull that shit.
Fucking Papa John's around a whole like mural.
Oh my god, that's what I said. Papa John's was integral to the plot of the movie. Was Papa John's? God. Like
that was weird.
Then there's another part where they're searching, that whole part where they're searching, and then they run into a nightclub, and it's like nobody walked down that vent ever in 500 years.
Maintenance. Nobody installed those lights. Those lights that were in that club existed.
Right. Like, what is happening in this movie? Like, they're so... Like, it was just like, we need a nightclub.
I think part of the thing is, like, when I used to watch movies and then, like... Have you heard of CinemaSins on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. So I started watching those all the time. And I was like, oh, wow, I never noticed that. Oh, that's funny. You know, this, that, and the other thing. And then eventually I realized watching those constantly was changing how I was watching movies.
Yeah.
Because I would watch movies for fuck-ups and shit that didn't make sense. So, like, I mentally trained myself to suspend all disbelief and take a movie as it is. And I think it very well might be a side effect of that.
There's only so much I can do. Like, I mean, I love the John Wick movies, and there's a lot of suspension of disbelief that goes into those. But, like, I don't know. There's certain like blaring things, like the whole ship scene, that I'm like, I can't get on board with this. I can't. And like, I don't know. I also think the casting choices were absolutely god awful in that movie. Like, and I like Wahlberg and I like Holland. I don't think they did good in their respective roles at all. I think the only character that was cast appropriately was Chloe. Like, everybody else was just like, hey, who's hot right now? Tom Holland. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's Tom Holland. Let's do Tom Holland. And Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg's hot right now. Let's do Mark Wahlberg. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It was... plus, I don't know. It wasn't like... I didn't even feel like it was as good explanation-wise as the Uncharted's were. The games. And the games are meant to be all across the world, but... like, even those, like, I feel like, okay, I could kind of get on board with some of this, but, like, I don't know.
I remember when they first were talking about this movie, they were going to have Mark Wahlberg be Nathan Drake. And then so much time had passed, they had to move him to being Sully.
Right.
But, like, they didn't even make him, like, Sully-ass Sully. And
No.
they did MASH, like, it was, like, heavily influenced by the fourth game, but, like, kind of crammed other aspects of it together. I mean, I did enjoy, though, the part where after they fell and they're, like, coming out of the ocean and Nolan North is just, like, hanging out there. He's like,
That's cool.
That happened to me once.
I like the Nolan North cameo. I did like that. And then, like I watched Pitch Meeting, which is very similar to the Cinema Sins, and kind of Pitch Meeting and Honest Trailer is what I watch.
Honest trailers. I love honest trailers.
Yeah. One of the things they Pitch Meeting pointed out is, like, it's like the one guy's like, oh, we're going to have Mark Wahlberg play Sully? Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how he does his take on this this interesting character. And he's like, no, he's just going to do Mark Wahlberg. He's just going to be Mark Wahlberg in the movie.
Yeah,
that's what he's going to do. Yeah.
The post-credits thing did the best for setting him up as, like, being, like, Sully-ass Sully.
Kind of, because he got a mustache and his gun? I don't know if I can get on board with that.
The mustache with the cigar, because that was everybody's big thing, was he didn't have the mustache and everything. And then,
the cigar and the gun, yeah.
Yeah.
The three tenets of Sully, they weren't there.
Mustache, cigar, and gun. And then, like, they did, like, tease... I guess spoilers if anybody's not seen it and this makes it into something, but they did tease the next game and his brother and everything like that, which again, super influenced by the fourth, but then that, like, threw my brain off because they split the fourth up and made it happen across two separate time periods, and it just, like, fucked with me.
And that's the thing too, the fourth is like the last game, but this is supposed to technically kind of happened before the first game, and I'm like, what are we doing here, man? So are we just cutting the reporter out altogether? Like, I don't know. It's very because she's like a pivotal character. So I don't know. I don't know. I just can't get on board with that. Like I said, I liked it better than the Tomb Raider movie. I don't know that I would say it was good though at all. But let's do it. Let's get into this. Going in.